Welcome to the Art of Gracious Living. Today we're going to be taking another look at a international fashion magazine for men. This one is from France, and it's called L'Etiquette, and it is very popular and quite an interesting magazine. I've enjoyed looking through it, and I'm going to share some of my thoughts with you. It is the spring-summer issue. It appears to be a quarterly periodical. And it comes in two editions. There's a men's edition and a women's edition. The men's edition, they do publish in English. So this is actually a word-for-word translation of the French edition. The women's edition, interestingly enough, does not come in English. It comes only in French. So let's take a look at L'Etiquette and learn how to dress this summer. Okay, here we start. These are actual people that they photographed, as opposed to another section of the magazine that we'll see in a little bit, where the creative directors dress models and take pictures of them. These are real people wearing real clothes. This guy, Sergey, he's an artist. He is about my age. In fact, I would imagine he's almost exactly my age. And he is wearing a pretty good outfit. I kind of like it. It's got some interesting touches. The jacket is Comme des Garçons, which has got to be the quietest, I'll put it that way, piece of Comme des Garçons I've ever seen. Comme des Garçons, of course, is a Japanese brand. And it looks like a gray flannel suit, nothing special about it, but I like it. It's a great jacket, but there's nothing really edgy or trendy about it. It's something that it's unstructured, natural shoulders. I like the patch pockets. Very, very nice jacket. I'm sure you pay a huge premium for it, having been probably mostly hand sewn in Japan. But nonetheless, I like it. The pants, I like them. You know, a Glen plaid, a little short, but that is a matter of taste. Lots of people these days really like their trousers about that length, so I can't really complain about them. The cuffs look good. I don't know how tall this guy is, so it's hard to tell how that would look on the street. Cuffs definitely have a tendency to shorten the look of the man. If you're a tall guy, you can get away with wearing cuffs much more easily than if you're a shorter man. The one thing I will say about this overall outfit, it's a lot of gray for a guy with gray hair. And it's a very aging outfit. I think that he pulls it off, of course, because it's perfectly styled. He does have a little bit of color in his glasses. They're actually Oliver Peoples. They're the Gregory Peck, made famous by Gregory Peck having worn them in To Kill a Mockingbird. But they're just a classic horn rim. And in fact, I wear Oliver Peoples glasses too. I really have loved that brand for 30 years. Although they're now owned by Luxottica, so they're really not a kind of edgy brand. And the original designer and owners have long since left the brand, but they're still great, and I love mine. I don't wear that particular style. Now, here's a guy who, let's see, he's a stylist and consultant. Not a surprise. It's just a lot of black. All right. Here we have another fashion art director. Gee, it makes you wonder where they get these guys. I like it. You know, white pants. I'm a big advocate for white pants in the summer. I think the break is too much. I mean, those are really, really long pants on this guy. And he's wearing a cowboy boot, which is, the French have been obsessed with the American West ever since the 19th century, when Buffalo Bill famously brought his Wild West show to Paris for a very long residency. And then we have Rocky Horror Picture Show t-shirt. That's kind of cool. I like it. I mean, graphic tees they're hard to style. I mean, he's a young guy, and he can definitely pull it off, but they've kind of been out of style in the U.S. for quite a long time. But you'll see a lot of them in this magazine. Doc Martens, again, not the highest quality shoe in my opinion, but they're indisputably fashionable. And kind of a heritage pair of pants, cotton drill trousers with raised ribbing and visible mending. So you'll also see a trend that I've noticed in this magazine, that there's a lot of found items, a lot of thrifted items, which is good. I think that's cool. And kind of a work jacket. Black moleskin jacket with 4 wooden buttons, produced sometime between 1920 and 1940. So again, this is a vintage piece. I like it. French work jackets are having a moment in the U.S. These guys are definitely dressed for summer, and I have nothing but approval for both of these looks. You have the Oxford cloth button down. I don't know if it's a button down collar or not. It's hard to tell. It's not buttoned. I want to just say a word for non-button down collared Oxford cloth button downs. I think they're very in right now. I think they're a great style. I think that I'd like to see people wear them more. They are a 70s and 80s retro look. That's what they've become. Because since the late 80s and the more Brooks Brothers prototypical preppy look has come back and has been in style pretty much nonstop. That sort of collar is a breath of fresh air. And I've been actually collecting a number of shirts on eBay, used shirts from the 70s and 80s that have those collars that are non-button down. I think it's a great look on him, and he's wearing white Levi's. Again, this is a preppy staple. Not everybody has a lot of love for white jeans. I've heard people say they're hard to style. I think that's nonsense. I think white, or even better yet, ecru, or what they used to call in the 60s, wheat jeans, are just easy to wear with almost anything. So, no belt, I think that works. Sandals, the French seem to love their sandals. The other guy, again, he's wearing sort of a denim-y shirt and a pair of flares. It's another thing I've seen in this magazine. Yeah, it sort of gives you a Saint-Tropez look, but I am not a big fan of flares on men. I think women look great in flares, and they can really wear them at any age, but I'm not a big fan of flares. And, oh, here we see flares again. These are Levi's Big E that he says he bought. I think he bought them at a thrift shop or a used clothing boutique, probably more likely. No, I'm sorry. Not for me, unfortunately. It says it's a long sleeve 80s Lacoste made in France. Now, I want to know how he has an 80s Lacoste made in France, because in the 80s, Izod owned the name, and they were not made in France. Let me tell you that right now. Made in France Lacoste stopped about 1969, 1970, maybe 71, 72. I have had made in France Lacoste garments, and they're fabulous. They're just nothing like anything that's been made since. But boy, ever since Izod bought them, of course, they're now back to the family. Izod's license long ago expired, but I don't know. I question whether that's actually made in France, because Lacoste was not making anything in France in the 80s. All right, here we have another older guy. He's kind of got that. This is a boring outfit. You know, first of all, not a fan of pleats. It looks like a blue blazer with gray pants. Great, you know, classic. And a blue button down. And a knit tie. I mean, super preppy. He looks like a junior partner at a law firm. But it's just a little dull. There's absolutely nothing interesting about this outfit whatsoever. The tie is the only, thing that brings any interest or texture to it. Where's that shirt from? Made-to-measure shirt from Milan. Okay, those collars are huge. A button-down should have a Brooks Brothers proportioned collar. Brooks Brothers invented the button-down collar. And that's, those look like wings that you could take off with. And thank God they're buttoned down, or he'd be flying around the room. Those are huge, huge. And obviously that was a choice that he made, to have huge collar on his shirt. So I don't like the shirt, and it's a little dull, and he needs to smile. He's a real grumpy Gus. And here we have very cool white pants, dead straight leg, Very nice. Again, that French worker jacket that is everywhere. He found it on Vinted. Nice Seiko quartz chronograph. I have a Seiko quartz chronograph that I wear occasionally for my videos that I'm sure somebody has seen. It's a great choice. Looks like he's wearing a NATO strap with it too. Can't tell what his t-shirt is. Again, it's a print t-shirt. This is my current obsession. Vintage merch t-shirts from running competitions in the United States. Boy, I don't know about that. That is a little bit of stolen glory there, my friend. If you're wearing a running t-shirt, you should have run in that race. And if you didn't, I think that's not cool. I don't like that. And here we have, I would call this the Portland, Maine look. I like it. You see this look everywhere in Portland. This is, it's kind of shocking to see it in a French fashion magazine, because this is the way half the people in Portland, anybody that was born in Maine that lives in Portland, wears clothes like this. This is the local look, the non-hipster, anti-hipster Portland, Maine look. But we got to talk about from the ankles down. Black socks, no. And the pink Converse, there's absolutely nothing to be said positive about them in terms of this outfit. It's the only pastel he's wearing, and it just screams at you, sorry, dude, that you got it 90% there. This guy is just one big blob of blue. Again, white pants, obviously very in Paris. This guy, if you read the text, he's trying to sort of project a Godfather mafioso vibe. I think he kind of gets it with the scarf and the glasses. Here's a guy, I would say that's 100% heritage wear. You could see that anywhere in, American fashion magazines, on American YouTube fashion influencer accounts. 100%. Now, he says that this is Japanese sailor jeans. I mean, they're just fatigues. They're just denim fatigues. New Balance running shoes. That's cool. New Balance, a great Maine brand. J. Crew t-shirt. And a military shirt he got from a flea market. And again, that's absolutely 100% heritage wear. Hits it right on the head. Green shoes, green shirt. Coordinate great. The beanie, yeah, absolutely. And then this guy's wearing like a chore jacket again. Oh yeah, it's a double RL, good old Ralph Lauren, and meticulously put together, meticulously designed from archival examples that you would expect from double RL. A great line. Some think it's a little overpriced, but I don't think so compared to the Japanese brands. Maybe it was true at one time, but the Japanese brands are, $300 pair of pants. And, so Ralph is $320 for a pair of chinos. Overall, this fails. This is a big fail. I mean, what's with the Nike overalls? That's just stupid. I'm sorry. All right, now this is the beginning of their styled section. These are all models that are styled by the fashion director, and so these are outfits that are put together by the fashion director of the magazine. So keep that in mind. This is, the distressed jeans have been out of style really for a long time, but I guess if you pay enough for them, they become cool again. Yeah, they're from some French brand, Faded. Yeah, this is just kind of trying to be edgy with a vintage suit. Kind of works. Why not? Again, we've got very, very capacious break on the bottoms of the pants. And also a bit of a bell bottom. At least you could certainly call that a boot cut. I'm seeing a trend definitely with that. Now this is a very American look. The Calvin Klein underwear showing. No, that's not a good look. It was never a good look, and it's not a good look now. Just pull up your britches, young man. I mean, otherwise it's fine, but that's just dumb, you know. And they're high-rise pants, so they really are ill-suited for, you know, sort of the saggy ass look. And here's a guy who looks like he's dressed to go to an S&M club. You know, yeah, if you're riding a motorcycle, you can pull this look off, but boy, you better have a motorcycle within 2-minute walk of wherever you are to wear stuff like this. That's a good look, a good preppy golfer look. And what's his watch? Yeah, gold Rolex. Yeah, I mean, you know, it makes the look. That's a moneyed look. That's a golfing in the Hamptons look. Lacoste bucket hat. I think that's a good look. That's a winner. And he's one of the few outfits and one of the few guys that could pull off a gold Rolex. I say that's a good one. This is an interesting look. He's got a Lacoste, and that looks like a modern contemporary manufacturer Lacoste shirt. He's wearing it over a Comme des Garçons shirt and Comme des Garçons pants. It's a classic prep look to wear your Lacoste shirt underneath a dress shirt, typically an Oxford cloth button down. But here he's kind of flipped it with it's not an Oxford cloth, it's a broadcloth, blue and white stripe poplin, to have the dress shirt underneath. That works though. I think that's okay. The text is stupid. It, you know, makes this, he was going for I just rolled out of bed still wearing my pajamas look. That's just fanciful. Comme des Garçons is famous for very loose fitting, I guess you could call it pajama-like pants. So if you know the brand, it's not all that. It doesn't really read as sleepwear at all. So the text is just kind of silly. Couple suits, seersucker, classic summer look. I have to say this is a Eurotrash look. That's all there is to it. Here's, I guess this reads very French because of the Breton stripe shirt that he's wearing underneath. Again, it looks like that French work jacket that here is being rendered in a it's not really a seersucker, but it has that look to it. It's sort of a chain design twill. Looks good. I like, and again, I never say no to Madras. So that's not a bad look. This guy, I mean, this is 100% preppy. Double-breasted blue blazer, blue Oxford cloth, probably buttoned down. See if they say anything. Yeah, American Apparel in all its glory and manly confidence. The shirt is Sebago. Now that's very, very interesting. Wearing a gold Rolex, you know, it does pick up the gold buttons. Not a big fan of gold watches, but I have to say they're styling them well, and it looks like they may be coming back. And then all paired with jeans. So yeah, I mean, that is a real classic preppy look. Yeah, Sebago is an old Maine company that started in Westbrook, Maine, and you'll see more of Sebago. I almost wonder if this isn't paid content. I bet some of this is paid content because Sebago has never been known for shirts. I mean, it's almost impossible to judge that shirt just by this photo, but I didn't know that Sebago sold shirts. I don't think they sell them in the U.S. But there's more Sebago to come. Boy, you know, over and over you're seeing this chore jacket, and then it's the French cut of the chore jacket. It's not the LL Bean chore jacket, or the Filson jacket, or even Dickie. It's the French chore jacket, and boy, it's dominating. And again, long pants. You know, look at that. Look at that. Look at that break. Now here we have an LL Bean bag. That's cool. And it says LL Bean from GB Inventory. LL Bean doesn't retail in England. Apparently they may not in France either. Maybe they wholesale. I bet they wholesale. I know that Bean wholesales, but I never really understood exactly how they did it, and it may be that that's what they're doing here, and that This bag is just available at a men's boutique in France. A lot of blazers matched with jeans. And the jeans aren't all dark. The jeans are definitely distressed and faded, which is very different from the style in the U.S. This is a very U.S. style. All of this guy it's all 100% reading U.S. style points. Converse shoes, concho belt, which is Native American / Northern Mexico silver crafted, definitely vintage looking. Ralph Lauren did a lot with that kind of belt. Yeah, that's a very American look. Levi's, Converse, jacket and shirt, a Brioni. Yeah, there's some money in that jacket and shirt for sure. Again, that's probably a $3,000 jacket. All right, here's a watch segment. And I just want you to take a look at the shapes, not the individual watches. A third of those, it's 9 watches, a third of them are square or rectangular. This is interesting. Sebago boat shoes. Now, this is a very famous American brand. As I said, it started in Westbrook, Maine. They were made in Maine for quite a while. They offshored, but according to this article, they are now made in the USA again. Now they may do that just for their European offerings. A lot of American shoe companies have special offerings for their European outlets, and that may be the case here with Sebago, because Sebago is not known as a hand sewer made in USA brand here in the US. Again, I may be wrong, but according to this article, they were brought over. A French retailer bought a bunch of Sebagos and brought them over in the 70s and launched them, and that they have remained a very, very popular brand in France. And that could very well be the truth. This is their classic Docksider. And this article is interesting. It really puffs up, I have a hard time believing everything they say here. They say John F. Kennedy wore Sebagos, Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, and James Dean wore Sebagos. I don't know. I mean, maybe in the 60s they were a better quality brand, but they were always a Johnny-come-lately wannabe when it came to the classic boat shoe. These were shunned in the 70s when I was in high school. It was topsiders or nothing. If you wore Sebago Docksiders, you literally got teased. They were considered as uncool as they come. A cheap ripoff. So there's nothing wrong with them. I mean, I think that they were being judged rather harshly in a topsider-centric world. But boy, again, I suspect strongly that this is paid content. And this looks like more paid content. Quaddies. I've done a video on Quaddies. These are a great Maine vintage. They're a great Maine heritage brand, hand sewn in Lewiston, Maine. Some Quaddies are, I am informed, made in the Dominican Republic, which is where LL Bean makes all of their boat shoes now. But Quaddies also, and this looks like Quaddie for beige Halliburton. These are, in fact, these are exactly the Quaddies I have, except mine are in a light, what they call whiskey, and these are in the dark brown. But great shoe, and good to see it here. They call it the Canoe, and it is. It's the Canoe shoe. That's the Quaddie Canoe shoe. So good to see a Maine brand. Pretty prominently featured, too. Very interesting, very, very interesting magazine. How to Dress This Summer. Thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, of course, I'll still continue to do my reviews of various pieces of heritage clothing, preppy clothing. But if you like this sort of look through of what's going on around the world in terms of men's fashion, please leave a comment. Please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And if you like some of these looks in this magazine, please leave a comment. Let me know. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.